video this afternoon. Mr. Mkhize, thanks very much for coming in.
Thank you very much.
Perhaps I should start with the ANC's NEC Lekgotla statement, which called for bold action to avert a ratings downgrade, to avert an economic slump. Is there consensus in the ruling party on what that bold action should be?
Yes, there is a broad consensus of certain things that need to be done. The first one of those is about how to manage the fiscus, ensuring that we reduce the budget deficit and also reduce expenditure at that level. I think it's important that when we look at the coming budget, we should look at the signs, because the main areas of the payment, the repayment, debt repayment is a huge amount. The personnel remuneration, salaries is also pretty high. So we need to be able to say where else do we manage the budget. But in addition, we need to also look at issues that will help to stimulate growth, build the confidence, so that between government and private sector, there's a lot of working together, so that we can attract a bit more, a bit more investment. The tight management of the state-owned enterprises, and in particular to look at public-public partnership, public-private partnership, to be able to avoid further increases, for example, in the tariff on ESCOM and all of those issues. So there is a broad area. And then, of course, areas of governance, tightening on governance, reducing, ballooning of personnel, but also dealing with the issue of corruption and very tight management on the fiscus. So for us, broadly, there are areas where we believe that government need to be very bold and strong in dealing with them.
It's interesting, you mentioned confidence, and you mentioned the sort of relationship between government, business and labour. And confidence is a key word here. I was just speaking to a broker a few moments ago who pointed out to the 20 billion rand of outflows that left the country in January alone. Hence I'm using the word confidence. I mean, what are we doing? Are we doing something wrong, or can we do something better to reinstill that confidence?
I think, firstly, we need to understand that the pressure we're going through is more related to currency volatility that is linked to the global economic situation. The prices of our commodities are down, and a lot of our trading partners are having a challenge. But at the same time, I think between ourselves, the South Africans, government, labor, private sector, we need to really, this is the time now for a social compact that will really say, how can we work together, a win-win kind of solution that will help to stabilize the country and create an approach where all of us can single-mindedly focus on what will generate growth, especially because there are certain suggestions that have come on board, recommendations that can help. For example, there are sectors where if all these three, government, private sector and labor can work together. For example, in the manufacturing, there's a lot of possibilities there, opportunities in agri-processing, opportunities in, services sector and so on. So there are areas where we can, take advantage.
These three pillars you speak about, government, business and labor, I mean, it highly depends on trust. Do you think 2016 you can actually see this trust emerging here? Because if that doesn't happen, then confidence steeps down. You have business, on the other hand, saying that, well, look, we've got contradictions in terms of policy statements being made within government and the ruling party. Let's talk about trust. What do you see happening this year?
Well, I think that, sometimes you need a crisis to be able to get people to find a solution. And I think we mustn't waste this crisis. I think this is the time where all the major players in the economy should be able to sit together and hammer out what can be the best formula that will take the country out of the challenges. I mean, some of the big corporates are kind of restructuring and are disposing of major assets, and that's got a huge impact on jobs. And, a lot of, sectors are also feeling the strain, mining, manufacturing, and all of these. So the issue really, which I think is important, is can we, in line with the National Development Plan, come to the table and put some certain contributions from each side and sacrifices from each side to say what can we do together to create a South Africa Inc. in terms of approaching the economy, and therefore go out and approach the global investor community with a solid formula that will make sure that we can attract growth, but at the same time, just to talk to each other and to be able to exchange views and deal with the concerns. For example, the issue of policy, uncertainty issues, these are issues that can be dealt with on the table.
Yeah. You speak about a formula. We just heard a voice in an insert that just played about pointing to the situation in Japan, where they've actually got into negative interest rates to spend their way out of trouble. I mean, one refers to the Keynesian model of dealing with the economy, where we increase government expenditure, we lower taxes. Would you support that?
I would say in theory, yes, but there are a few things which you need to watch. Largely, I think for South Africans, because of its very wide gap of the inequality, we need to focus on, if we talk about increasing government expenditure, I think the priority should be about protecting the poor and making sure that, the basic services that service the poor and are helping to build a better society are in place, health, education, and so on. On the other hand, we also need to focus on the infrastructure expenditure, because those are important in building the economy, not for now, but for the future. So I think if you have to talk about increasing government expenditure, we should talk about protecting specific areas in our expenditure. On the other side, when we deal with the tax aspects, I think the poor and the lower middle strata are the ones that are getting very heavily hit, and I think those are important also to protect. So I think it's possible to create a formula that can balance the two. I don't think you can say outright for everyone, but I think it's important that you can target and prioritize those that will benefit best from that kind of move.
ANC Treasurer General Zweli Mkhize, thanks very much for coming in.
Thank you.